In the first step, Accountable Kids introduces the idea of basic chores, tickets, and best behavior card. Can you give us a quick demonstration on how this works?
Once you've selected the chores that you want your children to do, divide them into 3 categories: the morning chores, the afternoon chores, and the evening chores. And then you're going to take the cards and cut them so that the color bars represent the time of day. Yellow would be for morning, red for afternoon, and blue would represent evening chores. Once you've selected the cards that your kids are going to be using, you'll put them on the go peg. And this is where your kids will come in the beginning of the day to see what jobs they need to do. So in the morning, they can come to the board, see what they need to do, and as they finish a job, it goes over to the finished peg. Now, as they move through their basic routine and they're flipping the cards over, you're no longer the one that has to continually remind your kids to do these jobs. They can remind themselves, and when they're finished with their morning chores, they know because all the yellow jobs are done. So my kids will come and say, "Mom, I'm done with my morning jobs. May I have a ticket?" And that's when they've earned their morning ticket. The ticket then can be placed on the Accountable Kids board on the ticket spot, and then they can use that throughout the day for ticketed items such as getting on the computer, playing games, watching a movie, or having friends over to play. The second tool that's introduced in step 1 is the best behavior card, and this is a fun way to help encourage positive behaviors in your children. They can earn the best behavior card for doing things like helping, carrying acts, sharing, and it's just a fun way to tell your kids that you're watching for the good and helping to encourage the positive things in your kids.
I love the idea of having a program where the kids can decide what they want to do. But with over 60 cards, how do I decide which cards to choose for them?
Okay, that's a great question. First thing you want to do is keep it simple. You don't want to overwhelm the kids. The second thing you want to do is make sure that your chores are age appropriate. And you can refer to our book and it'll give you a number of suggestions. There's a whole section in there on developmental stages so that you can determine what's appropriate for your child's age. The next thing you want to do is make sure that the basic chores that you set up are consistent, that list doesn't change. That way the kids can get used to the system and have the structure that they need to be successful.
Core chores do not vary. They are your child's responsibility every day. Core chores should be measurable and observable. Your child should know exactly what is expected. Keep these chores simple in the beginning. Your child chores should be age appropriate. Core chores can be added, combined, deleted throughout the program. If your child is having difficulty completing core chores, reassess the program and add or delete chores as needed. The blank cards can help you create personal reminders for your child. So once the parents have selected the jobs that they'd like their kids to do and maybe even created some of their own, what do they need to do next?
This is the fun part where you get to customize a program to really meet the needs of your kids. So you can take the cards and cut the color bars so that they match up with when you want your kids to complete certain chores. For chores that occur in the morning, you'll cut the cards so that the yellow bar is on the bottom. For chores that are for the afternoon, you'll cut it for the red bar on the bottom. And things that you want your kids to do in the evening, you'll cut it so that the blue bar is on the bottom. So this gives you an opportunity to just get specific on when you want the chores done, and it allows the kids an opportunity to be able to see when to do their chores. So it's not this long list of things they have to do all day long, but it breaks it into 3 very short segments, and it makes it fun and simple for the kids.
I think it's also very tactile, very hands-on, so the kids enjoy it. We tried to make it as simple as possible so the kids can be successful with it.
Your child is responsible to perform chores and let you know when they are accomplished. Give your child a ticket after one group of chores is completed. Encourage your child to use tickets when they are earned.
So my kids earn tickets for doing basic chores. What would they then use those tickets for? What activities?
really this isn't overly complicated. What you want to do is look at what your kids are into, the things that they like, and make those ticketed items, because that's where really the buy-in comes from. That's where the kids get motivation, because they're working to do things that they want to do, not just sort of an arbitrary list that mom and dad have created that they think is important. So you can kind of mix it in. Things that they want to do, also things that you want them to recognize are a privilege that they need to earn.
One thing to remember is just keep it simple, keep it fun. We have a lot of parents ask us, what should I make a ticketed activity? And you don't want to ticket everything. You want this program to just be fun for the kids and simplify your life. So in our home, we have ticketed items, things like TV, computer, playing with friends, maybe watching a movie. Our kids don't need to give us a ticket to go outside and play, but we do have a rule that they need to at least have done their basic chores and have their ticket hanging on their board before they go out and play outside. So that still keeps it simple for the kids, and for us it helps our kids make some choices and learn to balance their resources and not be spending all day long on the computer or watching TV. It gets them out doing some fun things.
There's certain chores that I want my son to do every week, but not every day. Is there a way to set up the chore board so that he can remind himself to do those weekly chores?
Here's something to remember. The Accountable Kids program is a framework. We've not intended it to be something that you're so locked into that you can't be really who you are, that it doesn't fit your needs. It's wholly customizable. So initially you may want to follow the steps that we lay out as you implement it in the beginning, but then once you've done that, customize it, make it yours. There's a number of ways that you can do that. You can take and you can write on the card if it's a job that's to be done once a week. There's also the purple color bar right at the bottom. You can trim the cards off to that point so that the kids know that that's a once a week chores. There's also other cards in there. We have a morning, afternoon, and evening card. So if there's something that needs to be done at one of those times, you can use those cards. But like I said, make it yours. Make it fit your family, make it fit your needs, and if you'll do that, you'll be successful.
Ticketed activities require a ticket every time. Privileges are earned, not given. Whenever possible, your child has control over how tickets will be used. It is most effective if your child does not begin the day with more than 2 tickets. Encourage your child to use tickets throughout the day. Accountable Kids provides a way to incorporate positive discipline that is respectful, immediate, and impactful. As we have seen, kids earn tickets for doing basic chores, which can then be used for basic privileges. Parents teach their kids that certain negative behaviors such as arguing, fighting, and whining lose tickets. What are some recommendations for parents or grandparents who want to use this form of positive discipline?
So if you decide to use tickets for positive discipline, you just want to get really clear on what things in your family are unacceptable. Have a family meeting, discuss your rules, even write them down, post them on the fridge so everybody is really clear on what things, what are negative behaviors, what things go against your family rules. There's even forms in the back of the book that you can use as a form to be able to write those out, and our website has those that you can also print off. So just get specific on what things will lose a ticket. Once you've done that and you've written them out, keep in mind that if kids are losing tickets for negative behavior all of the time and they never have a ticket to use for something positive, they're going to get discouraged. So there are some other tools that we will discuss later on in this video about how to encourage positive behaviors, but really just start to look at the needs of your children, start to look at the balance of tickets they're losing, tickets they're earning, so that they don't get discouraged.
I think one thing to add to that that's really important is that once you've sat down as a family and determined what those family rules are and you set that boundary for your kids, really important to make sure that you enforce that boundary. If you say this behavior will result in a ticket being lost, then that needs to happen. It needs to happen every time so that the kids have that consistency and you're following through. And they understand that these really are boundaries and that we will respect and reinforce those in our family.
And this can really be a learning opportunity. When our kids will do something that is a negative behavior, say they're fighting or arguing, and I'll say, you know, Emily, I'm really sorry that you made that choice, but you need to go get me a ticket. And she'll go to her board and she'll grab the ticket and she'll bring it back to us. And then that's a real teaching moment. You can say, you know, Emily, tell me, why did you lose that ticket? And she'll start to verbally tell you about the scenario and why she lost it. And it really creates a teaching moment.
Along with that, I think that's really important to understand that, yeah, as parents, we want our kids to be great and wonderful and make the right choices all the time. But think about it this way: every time somebody makes a mistake, that's an opportunity for a lesson. And so I want my kids to make mistakes. I want my kids to make choices, and I want them to make them when they're young. And the price tag for those mistakes are small, because as we get older, we become teenagers and young adults. The price tag for the mistakes we make become incredibly large. So think of those times and those opportunities when we're taking tickets or we're disciplining in a positive fashion as teaching moments, times to share with our kids and to help them learn the values that they'll need to be successful in the world.
Using tickets has been a great form of discipline in our house, and it's helping the kids to understand the relationship between choices and consequences. But what happens when one of my children does something to lose a ticket and there are no tickets left to take? What should I do then?
One of the things that we will do in our family, if that situation arises, which honestly it doesn't very often, if you're implementing the steps and following through on all the steps, it's not something that should be happening very often. But one of the things we've done is have a sort of a standard consequence. One thing that we do is they'll get an extra chore. If the kids are younger, timeout might work, but have some sort of a consequence in place to where if they don't have a ticket to take, then you have a consequence that's preset, and they know that will be there.
Be consistent. Discipline with respect. Do not discount another parent or responsible adult in front of your child. The last idea introduced in step 1 is the best behavior card. This is a tool that helps encourage positive behavior. Can you tell us how this best behavior card works?
This is one of my favorite tools in the Accountable Kids program. The best behavior card is really fun. It gives parents a way to encourage the positive behaviors in your kids. To give you an example, one time I was making lunch for the girls and I called them all to the kitchen table, and one of my kids came. And normally I would turn to the other two and say, come on, let's eat, it's lunchtime, and put that energy and focus into the kids that weren't doing what I asked. But with the best behavior card, I was able to turn to the child who came to the table, who was sitting there ready for lunch, and say, thank you so much, that was a best behavior, and be able to hand her that best behavior card. And the funny thing is then very quickly you heard little feet running to the table, and the other kids quickly joined because they were seeing that mom was giving attention for the positives. So the best behavior card is really a fun way to encourage positive behaviors. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that when you use the best behavior card, it should be periodic. Every once in a while, it's like the surprise. They never know when they're going to get it.
Don't overuse it.
Right.
And so I think it should also be something you're using to reinforce values you want to see in your kids, the things that they do, value-based behaviors that you feel like are important or are in line with your family's values.
And then the last thing, they don't get it if they ask for it. So it's just one of those things that you catch them in the moment of doing something good. It's a real fun part of the program, and truthfully, it's done more for encouraging positive behaviors than anything else I've used in the past.
Do not overuse the best behavior card, but use it with awareness to recognize praiseworthy virtues periodically. You can create a special weekly drawing with earned best behavior cards. The winner can select something out of the grab bag or receive a pre-selected incentive.
My grandchildren love the idea of receiving a best behavior card. Sometimes they use it as a ticket, but I've heard you use it in a drawing at the end of the week. Tell me how this works.
We do a drawing with our kids with their best behavior cards. They write their names on the back of the cards, and each week at our family meeting, one of the kids will draw something out, but then it's generally some kind of a project or a prize that they all get to participate in. So in that way, they all see the benefit. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to help our kids see that appropriate or positive behavior is a positive thing. And so it's just another way of reinforcing positive as opposed to highlighting or focusing on the negative all the time. But again, coming back to customize it, whatever works for your family. You know, we're not trying to create something that's more complicated. It's about simplifying our life, but reinforcing positive values and behaviors in our kids.
We just had our special drawing last night, and it was really fun. In our gift basket, there are things that we were going to give our children anyway. It was pencils, glue sticks, some school supplies, and so the items in there aren't expensive. The key for our family with the drawing has been that when we do draw a best behavior card, and they write their names on the back, and one person is selected to pick something out of the best behavior basket, it's for everyone. It's a family gift. It's not just for one person. So everyone benefits.
Yeah, we all benefit. We all win when we all behave positively and the family gets along better. So it's sort of another way to highlight that.
As a grandparent, I'm a little concerned about keeping this program running well. What specifically am I going to have to watch out for? What am I going to have to do to make sure that it works well for my kids and grandkids?
So far, we've covered a lot of information. If it's feeling a little overwhelming at this point, don't despair. There's only 3 things that you really need to keep up on to keep this program running smoothly. The first thing is, whatever you make a ticketed item, just enforce that. Make sure that if it costs a ticket to watch TV, then you need to make sure that your kids give you a ticket in order to have that privilege. The second thing is have a nightly chart check. So once a night, meet at the board and just say, chart check, have your kids come down and tell you what they need. Ask them, do you need a star? Do you need a ticket? Did you earn your best behavior card? So just ask for some accountability once a day. Each night, meet at the boards. And then the last thing that we'll be discussing in step 4 is to have a weekly family meeting. And that ties everything together and really helps the program operate smoothly.
I think along with that, you know, one of the things that I tell people is that, you know, our job as a parent is to help our kids become functioning, you know, capable adults. It's not necessarily, you know, just to be their friend or other things like that. And to that end, this is a program that the kids should learn how to run. They should be doing this. It's not one more thing for mom to do or one more thing to dad to do. Teach them how to do it, then let them do it, and then reinforce that. So pull back. You're no longer the warden, if you will. You're becoming more of a cheerleader. You're reinforcing their efforts, and they learn to be accountable and responsible by doing it.
This concludes step 1 of the Accountable Kids program. You are one step closer to raising an accountable kid. Each step introduces components that are essential for the long-term success of the program. You do not need to completely master each level before progressing to the next. Keep challenging your children. It is only when all 4 steps are implemented that Accountable Kids program becomes a complete system. Typically, you will want to begin step 2 in 1 week after your family has had a week to get familiar with basic chores, tickets, and best behavior cards. Don't put off starting step 2 for too long. You will find that each step will introduce new concepts to help the program become successful.